Here we are with the intensity changes for the three primary colors to make color intensity scales. For this one, read the directions for yourself. Remember, intensity has to do with the brightness and the purity of a color. So what we're doing for this worksheet is we're putting down the primary color first, do one row at a time, and then you're going to find its complementary color on the color wheel. And for each of them, it's straight across from them on the color wheel. So the complement of blue is orange, the complement of yellow is violet or purple, the complement of red is green. So I've already done the blue and yellow primaries, and remember, you do one row at a time. Don't do this where you do them simultaneously. It doesn't do you any good. You're not going to learn the process. With this, what you're going to do is, following the directions, you paint the primary color where it says primary color at the left side. You paint its complement at the right side. Make sure when you get the paint that you pull a lot of it into the tray lid so that you can, and make sure it's really saturated so that there's less water and more pigment in the pot of paint here, so that when you paint it here, it's as pure as it can be, so the white paper doesn't show through so much. So I just kept mixing and mixing until the water mixed in with a lot of pigment instead of a lot of water and a little pigment. I put it here, and then I painted it there, and then put that there, and I painted it here. Now I'm ready for the next step. Remember, you want to keep your brush as dry as possible. By that I mean don't have too much water in your brush. So you might want to tap out the extra water on a piece of paper towel. So now I'm going to take the darker in and mix it into the lighter on the tray lid here, and I'm going to go from the lightest one back to the darkest one. So between these two, they're pretty close in darkness to each other, but you can tell that the purple is darker than the violet, so you would add purple into the yellow. The purple is darker than the yellow. And you'd add the purple into the yellow and paint it there a little bit more purple. You paint it there a little bit more, you paint it there a little more, paint it there a little more, paint it there. And as you can see, it decreases the purity and the brightness of the color as it goes to the center. And then as it comes to the right, it starts looking purple more, because you have more purple in the brush anymore than you do yellow. So you're decreasing its purity and its intensity, its brightness, by adding its complement into it. So I'll show you the process. I'm going to take the green and mix it into the red. Like I said, they're close to the same darkness as each other, or same brightness as each other. And I'm going to mix them right into the side of it here. I don't want to take a lot of one at first. I want to take it gradually. If I need more, I can take more, but I don't want to change it really abruptly and fast. I want it to be nice gradual steps. So this is a really good first step. I just had a little bit in my tip of my brush of the green, added it into all of the red that I had in reserve on my palette. This is my palette. And then I painted in the spot next to the red. Remember, I'm still looking for good brush control, even coverage, hard edges. All of that stuff is still part of this worksheet. It's part of everything you do for my class. Taking your time to do the best you can possibly do. And if it means slowing down and stop talking and turn off your music, all of those things, if it helps you to do it better, then please do it. So once I've got that painted in place, you can see that it's a duller version of the red. It still looks red, but it's duller. It also looks darker, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is it's dull. And this is the thing that we do when we want to make a building or something that looks close to us that's really bright. As it gets farther away from us, it will get duller, and it will have less of a pure brightness to it. So this is how you dull it down. So now I'm going to take a little bit more of my green and mix it in with my red. Remember, I don't want to take too much that I make a big step, but I want to have it definitely darker than the one before it. Could be a little darker. So I'll take a little bit more green. And it should still look kind of red. We don't want it to look gray. We don't want it to look neutral yet. And notice there's a lot less green there, or red there now than there is green there, because I've used more red than I have green. And it still looks red, but it looks a little bit duller again than the one to its left. So that gets painted here. And I'm decreasing its purity, its brightness, its intensity, by adding the complementary color into it. And once again, this is how you make something look farther away. A red car in the distance is going to look duller like this than it would up close like this. So this is how you make it look, besides being smaller and closer to the horizon line, you would paint it duller, hazier. Now I'm just going to take what's in my brush with the red, and I'm going to mix it right into the green here. And I'm not taking all the green, right? And I'm mixing it in really well. And I get what's called a neutral gray-brown. Shouldn't look red anymore, and it shouldn't look green yet. It should look right in between them as a neutral color. And this is how artists will create a brown too. They will add two complementary colors together if they don't have one in their tray. And like I said, it shouldn't look like red anymore, and it shouldn't look like green yet. This goes right here. This is called a neutral. It's kind of like white and black are neutral colors too. They don't have any of the color spectrum visible in them. And this neutral gray-brown doesn't have any of the original color evident in them either. All right, so that goes there. And then I just keep mixing it into the green. I'm not going to mix that anymore. I'm going to mix what's in my brush into more of the green. And it should look more green in this next step. I might need to add a little bit more green to my pot here for that final step, actually. I'm going to try here. I think I'm going to have to add a little more green. So what I'm going to do is clean my brush out before I pick up green, because I don't want to contaminate that green with this green. Pick up clean water, mix it into my green, and I'm going to put it right here. So I have one last step for there after I mix what's in my brush into there. And this just takes some practice and some patience. Remember, you're doing all 3 rows. If you didn't make the change in class, you're not doing just 2 rows, you're doing all 3 rows. And each row is worth 5 points. All right, so I'm going to take what's in my brush and I'm going to mix it right into what I had here previously. Shouldn't look like green yet, so I might need to move a little bit more of the neutral color back into it, because it looks pretty green. There we go. It still looks green, but it looks like a duller version of green. And I can still pull a little bit of this in and dull it down a little bit more if I need to, which I did. And this one's going to go right here. I think that could use a little more red. Still a little bit too bright. Right? So I want you to, do some problem solving. Look for yourself. Does this look like it's closer to that than it is that? And that's the thing about art. You do have to do problem solving. There's a lot of thinking that you have to do, and if you're not fully engaged in the process, you're not going to be as thorough in your problem solving. And that could still even be a little bit closer to the neutral, but it's not bad. All right, so that goes there. Now for my last one, I'm just going to take what's in my brush and mix it into the green that I had over here for my final step. I think I'll take a little bit more of this right here, just because I needed more. Mix it in really thoroughly, and this one will go right here. So now I've not only decreased the purity and intensity of the red, but as I've gone across, I've increased the purity of the green. I've added more green each step, and each step from here to there has become an increased intensity of green, even though it's not recognizable on this side. So it should be nice, even steps going all the way across. Remember, I'm looking for good coverage, I'm looking for hard edges, and I'm looking for color mixing accuracy with this. So take your time, do it well, be thoughtful, and don't forget to let it dry before you turn it in.